सारंग सर सर आलेले आहेत आणि नाव वी विल स्टार्ट.
Welcome to AICT sponsored 1 week short term training program on computational intelligence in earthquake resistant design. Good morning to all. Good morning, sir. Gupta sir. Shall I start, Khandvi sir?
Yes, sir. So, dear participants, I again welcome to this 1 week STDP sponsored by AICT on computational intelligence in earthquake resistant design. So now today we have with us our expert speaker LM Gupta sir. So I request my co-coordinator Professor Sarang Dhawade sir to introduce the today's speaker, and then we will start the today's session. Please, sir.
Today we are pleased to welcome a renowned personality, Dr. Lakshmikant Gupta sir, a very special speaker from the earthquake background. Dr. Gupta sir is the professor at Department of Applied Mechanics, VNIT Nagpur. He published more than 148 publications in various international and national journal and in conference. Sir guided more than 100 numbers of MTech students and 40 numbers of PhD students. He sanctioned fund from the government of India, MODROP and R&D projects. He also prepared a draft code of practice for the prestigious steel bridges for the Indian Road Congress. Sir, having life membership of Indian Institute of Engineers, ICI, Association of Civil Consulting Engineer, Indian Water Work Association, Indian Society for Wind Engineering, Indian Association for Structural Engineering. Sir organized national conference on the wind engineering in 2004 and also more than 8 STTP organized at VNIT Nagpur. He worked as the examiner for PhD and MTech project for Amravati University, Nagpur University, Pune University, Shivaji University, IIT Madras, IIT Bombay, and MANIT Bhopal. He worked as a corresponding member of Steel Bridge Committee of Indian Road Congress from 1995 to 1998. He worked as a West Zone Coordinator and expert member for the Best Innovative Structural Steel Design Project Award for student of Civil Engineering of Institute for Steel Development and Growth, Kolkata from 2004 to 2009, 7 and 2009 onwards. He worked as an expert member in Board of Study of Applied Mechanics of SV National Institute of Technology, Surat. He worked as expert member of NBA accreditation program in VS Polytechnic and Engineering College. Sir received many awards. One of them, the Best Teacher Award from the principal VRCE Nagpur in 1995 for meritorious service in the institute. Sir appreciated by the PWD, Government of Maharashtra, Chief Engineer Amravati for retrofitting and widening of bridge on Pili Purna River on MH6 at Achalpur. So today we have the Dr. Gupta sir. So with this, I ask that you give full attention to Gupta sir's sessions here on the behalf of organizing team. I requesting Dr. Gupta sir to deliver his valuable presentation. Thank you, sir. Khandvi sir, over.
Yes, sir. Please unmute yourself, sir. Your PPT is visible now. Sir, your mic is unmute. Your mic is mute, sir. Please unmute. Yes.
Now
Yes.
I'm audible.
You are audible.
Yeah. So, friends, good morning to all. And under this pandemic situation, I thanks the organizer for organizing the consecutively third course. I think so. I am not wrong. It is the third
Yes, sir.
course
Yes,
they
sir.
organized, and really it's appreciable that they are doing, even though because of such situations, and giving us the opportunity to speak the people of our area on this subject. Okay. Now, if the subject which has been given to me and which I want to tell to you all about the earthquake resistant design of steel structures, but since many places people are talking only on the earthquake and RCC, but very rare you find that there is a connection between the earthquake and the steel. Earthquake doesn't see the structure. Earthquake, it comes. It may be a mud structure, maybe stone, maybe RCC, maybe steel, or maybe composite. It doesn't see like our corona. The corona doesn't see the age of the people. It goes to a person who is infected. So this is also one of the infections. So for that things we have preparing for so many years the guidelines for designing well resistant design, so that the structure can sustain the earthquake which can occur. But before that, since the area of RCC covers everything about the material property, then the behavior, all these things, but still I'm sure it has not been covered at many places. So what I'm trying to tell today, that the uh, background story required for the good earthquake resistant design means the first is the basic material property, material behavior, then good method of design, likewise this. So initial part which I am in first part one I am covering is the basic steel design, which is the prerequisite for the ERD. So in second lecture we'll only talk about the ERD on steel. Okay. So a process diagram I am putting here. Under this process diagram, under hot rolled condition, the structure steel is been has been made with the help of the slabs, heavy sections, and the other products. This heavy sections then finally converted into the I section, L section, channel section, and other types of section, also the plate sections. So the basic iron in this particular, this is the one flow diagram of for making the steel, and that steel is then converted into our structure steel. Now, steel is considered as a perfect material. It is been told because it is been already said at many authors that it has a perfect material. So what are these good property? Good property, very good strength. Yes, steel has a very good strength as compared to any other material. Good ductility. We can say that everybody, all are our, I think so, participants are teacher, are going to become a teacher or researcher. You know that we did the tension test in our lab in the strength of material, and we always measure the percentage elongation, because we know that is what is percentage elongation we measure. We know we want to find out its ductility. Then capable of withstanding substantial inelastic deformation without losing the strength. This third bullet point, capable of standing substantial elastic deformation without losing the strength, which is the very much requirement of the ERD. That we allow inelastic deformation in various types of frames, which we'll discuss as per the section 12 of the IS 800. So that it is very much capable of standing the substantial elastic deformation without losing the strength. Okay, and the history says that good performance during the many earthquake. It has a good performance. If you see the history of the earthquake and the action on the steel structures, then it has a good performance because of the very native property which we have just talked. Okay. Then it has been said by one of the good author that if you design a well balanced steel structures, it doesn't need cosmetic. So good aesthetic without any cosmetic. It doesn't have to put any special thing. If it is a well balanced design, the structure itself looks as beautiful. Then what are the types of this steel? Now, there is a lot of change took place in our country in last 20 years. In last 20 years, the use of structural steel has increased, and therefore a lot of work has been done in this particular area. The first and foremost thing which has been done, that there is a single code has come out merging all old code. Now, if you're referring some book of old edition, they will mention you the different names of this the structure steel code. So now there is only single code IS 2062, in which the IS 226, 1977, 8500 all has been merged together, and then there is a single code which deals with structure steel of all types of grade. Okay, so therefore IS 2062 covering structure steel of medium strength, high strength both. Okay, then there is another steel, that is stainless steel, which is very rarely used for the structures. Then fire resistant steel, also called a thermomechanically treated steel, that they perform better for than ordinary steel under the fire. This is for the specially for the fire. Then the physical property uniformly to be used. IS 800 2007 has given you a parameters which should not assume some different values, because density 7850, even IS 875 part 1 for the dead load, they also mentioned 7850. Modular of elasticity E 2.0 10 to the power 5, but modular of elasticity we Indian code we use 2.0 10 to the power 5. If you see ANSYS or any other software, they prescribe 2.05. Probably American code also prescribes 2.05, but British code describes 2.0 into 10 to the power 5. So what I suggest, as far as our condition, these physical parameters to be considered while doing the analysis and design of the particular structure.
हमको हकाल दिया दादा के लिए आज इंट्रोडक्शन है उद्या काय झालं झालं तुझं काय म्हणते नव्हते का
I think so. Somebody is talking. So kindly mute your mic. Okay, there are different forms and shapes. These forms and shapes has been defined considering the metallurgical property as well as structural property. Because if you see the I section, he has given a curvature. There is no uproot right angle. This curvature is been given so that the stress concentration should be uniform. It should not be sudden uniform stress concentration here, and this becomes a cantilever. So therefore, this thickness at support is more than thickness as freehand. So therefore, this curvature has been given, and another aspect of giving this curvature and thickness relationship is the cooling process during rolling. because they are all hot rolled sections. So there is a effect of residual stress, and to maintain the equilibrium under thermal expansion and contraction, the shape optimization has been done. Otherwise, what will happen? In normal natural cooling, the member may buckle or warp. Therefore, this shape has been defined based on this. Okay, then another area of structure steel is the hollow sections. Now there are more utilization of this type of sections, that rectangular and square. This is rectangular, this is square, this is circular. All these sections are tubular structures have been used, and the flat plates for various purposes. Then these are the built-up sections. Here, those who are dealing with the design, those who are teaching the students, the built-up sections, it looks here that they are these two built. They are joined together by some system. Systems are nothing but there are two systems. One is the batten, another is the lacing. Our third is the lacing cum batten. Okay, so what happens here now? If you see a single ISFB, its centroid is here when I shown the pointer. Okay, but the if you take a built-up section, its centroid is here like this. Okay, so what physical meaning of this shifting of centroid means? The material is being displaced away from the center, and the property only will achieved when this connection is correct. If connection is correct means it should capable of transferring the forces by way of this batten and the lacing to the main member. If the battens and lacings are not properly designed, then it will act as a two individual. So this parameter everybody should keep in mind, that we very comfortably on drawing, we combine the sections. Then we say that okay, nothing is going to become two channels. Let us join like whatever you way. No, it's never. It has to be designed properly with proper connections of lacings and battens. Right. So this point has to be taken. Now, the good physical property of the structure steel. The steel which is very strong in tension, and that's why it has been always denoted by the tensile stress, ultimate tensile strength, or the yield stress. One more thing which is going to talk, I'll talk next. Now, when IS 2062 is been normalized to a single code, the nomenclature has been used in the code as per the international standard. Means our code, if I say E250, means it is a symbol which we use as per the international level. So this is the stress strain curve, wherein you can see a very important thing here, that 0 to yielding, the core is very close to vertical axis. What is the physical meaning of this? That a very good resistance the steel offers against deformation. Which is deformation? Strain. What is this? Strain, nothing but is deformation. And on this axis, vertical axis, it is strength. So resistance offered by the material against deformation is known as stress. So the correct definition of stress, the resistance offered by material against deformation is nothing but it's called as stress. So what we want? We want both the things. We want a strength without compromising the ductility. So this part is ductility. This part is ductility. So what we say that ideal member, when the stress reaches to 250, when the tensile strength reaches to 410, it should have a strain of 0.15, whereas strain was here 0. Okay, so therefore this becomes upper or lower yield point, and this particular zone becomes strain hardening, and then here necking phenomena took place and the structure fails, and at fracture the strain is 0.25, 0 to 0.25, very high, good ductility shows that. So this behavior we should always get in the particular material. And one more thing, this tensile stress, this is the ultimate stress, ultimate strain, strain at ultimate stress. Okay, so this becomes ultimate strain and this becomes ultimate stress. So ratio of ultimate stress to yield stress has to be high. How much to be high? More than 1.2. More than 1.2. Our code says that for doing the plastic analysis, the ratio of ultimate versus yield should be 1.2. So what is the lesson number 1? Lesson number 1, whenever you do ERD design, see that the ratio of ultimate to yielding should be greater than 1.2. If it is 1.5 to 1.6, excellent, excellent. How you will get? You should ask your client to submit the test report, or he should provide you the correct physical property of the material. So this background story I am telling you about for the ERD. So what is the another advantage of this particular point? What I told you, good ductility. Another thing, one very important native property I told you, inelastic deformation without losing the strength. So this is inelastic deformation, strain hardening, inelastic deformation. So they all 2 points which has been discussed earlier now been addressed in this particular graph. Okay, so this is the basic fundamental part of the material. Then this curve is idealized to 2 straight line because entire study before that. If you see this graph again, this 0 to this point, yield point, what is the physical meaning? If the load is removed, the material come back to the original position. Means this is in the elastic zone. That's why this here we call as a whatever we design with this condition is the elastic condition, or elastic design, or working design, or allowable stress design. Okay, now what is the status of, if you draw a stress diagram of a particular structure, the stress diagram of the particular structure, it says that stresses are maximum at top, 0 at neutral axis. But as you cross the yield point, the stresses increases and it propagates inside the fibers. Now you will ask me one question. I am relating the stress diagram with the tensile strength. This is the stress strain, that is the stress strain curve. What is stress strain curve? It is a axially loaded member as per the IS 1608. Sampling has to be prepared as per IS 1608. And I am relating this to the stress strain diagram. How these 2 things can be related? It's very simple. If a beam cross section or a beam loaded with a particular system of load, the all fibers along the length above neutral axis they are in compression, and below neutral axis they are in tension. So I am talking the status of that fiber. I am talking the status of that fiber as a for the tension test. So then as the stress in fiber increases, the group of forces in bottom in the compression side and group of forces in tension side, that creates the moment that develops the moment of resistance. So therefore this is the interrelated part. Now this is being idealized to 2 straight line. That means now we assume that after the yielding the stress goes straight, whereas practically it doesn't go. So this is called the plastic zone. This is called the plastic zone, and thereafter the strain hardening zone. Now here if you see again, this part is neither elastic nor plastic. That's why this part also called as elastoplastic zone. So elastic zone, elastoplastic zone, and then plastic zone. So here now 100% plastic. This is the idealized stress strain curve. You can see the strain as here, strain value here, and then there is another modulus, that is the strain hardening modulus, which is 2.5% of modular velocity. Now 2.5% means if I take 2.0 10 to the power 5, 2.5 means 5,000. So what is the definition of modular velocity? E, stress upon strain. So what happened? Strain doesn't increase much, strain increases. So therefore E loses. So when E loses, deflection and deformation increases. Now this is the chemical property as per 2062. This is a grade and designation. These are the qualities, and this we should have this much of chemical composition, and the carbon percentage plays an important role. This all parameters play a very important role, as in case of the welding property and the weld type of weld. Okay, welding electrode selection. So this all depends upon the carbon percentage. Then this is the mechanical property, and as per the 2062. So E nothing but the grade of steel. E250 means yield stress is 250. If I say E450 means yield stress is 450. Okay, so this is ultimate stress. This is yield stress, and this is the yield stress depending upon the thickness. As the increases, the stress reduces, and percentage elongation also been mentioned. We find the highest is the E250. So it is a very good steel if I use 250 for our design. Then this is a comparison of American Standard of Testing Material, ASTM, and IS 2062. The grade of steel almost A572 matches with our E250. Grade 42. So like this, these are the American standards. Now sampling. The material to be sampled for testing based on the piece to be cut from the location mentioned on this particular presentation. We should cut the piece of the sample. Now why we want to cut? It should be stress free. If I take a ISMB here complete or a sample, this can't be tested in machine, that takes a very high load. Second thing, it contains some stresses during cooling. What that stress, I'll tell you in the subsequent slide. So therefore, this should be free. This sample should be free from all the stresses, and this should move. It should take you the correct result. So this method of sampling is very important, and this should be cold cut, not the hot cut. The well clean sample to be used for testing to get the correct result. This is what the sampling method as per the IS 1608. It should make a sample in this particular format. This is the true and engineering stress anchor. Then effect of temperature on stress anchor. It varies considerably at very high and very low temperature. There is a variation. The sigma y, sigma u, and E drops, and maximum elongation at failure monotonically increases because of the temperature purpose. So there is a industry, and there is an increase in temperature because of their working atmosphere, and the earthquake comes. So therefore, this parameter they work, and they will create, they will change the stress level during the failure. So therefore, any industry where there is the high temperature atmosphere, you should do also the temperature analysis along with the earthquake forces. Then effect of on ductility does not have adverse effect on yield strength below the room temperature. That means what is the normal room temperature we use, we can have the same ductility. Lower temperature has substantial effect on ductility, means there is a contraction occurs at lower temperature. Means Jammu Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, an industry where there is a they are in zone 4 and zone 5. So there is the under temperature. If the 4 earthquake comes, then there is a loss of ductility. So therefore, this particular line you must utilize as far the temperature analysis concerned. Then behavior change from ductile to brittle, and ductile to brittle transition the temperature. Okay. So therefore, above behaviors to be checked by CHARPY-V test. So CHARPY-V test should be done. That's why, in addition to our routine test, we should also do CHARPY-V test for the effect on ductility because of temperature. Then strain rate. First point is this: what is strain rate? Strain rate is nothing but defined as velocity upon length of sample between the jaw. That is called strain rate. Now, effect on this strain rate on structure. Effect of strain rate on structures. Now, intensity of the earthquake force or lateral force is not defined. Whether that force which is going to act on structures at a very high speed or at a very low speed, because force is generated because of from the earth. Okay, so therefore that force, whether it goes very fast or it goes very slow, so that will create the effect of strain. That is called the strain rate. Because strain rate, I told you, as per the lab condition, but strain rate as per the structural consent is that one. So tensile strength increases at high strain rate. Crucial for blast resistant design, little significant design engineering application. So strain rate to be studied. One of the area we can study the strain rate also. Now, special note: probable in strength, margin between the actual average strength and specified strength. Increase over the years, some structure steel, even though the steel specimen remains change. This somebody has noted down that the strength of the steel increases when it is kept in a loaded condition for a longer period. So to justify this, what we can do, we can move around our area, the old structures which is already crosses 25 to 30 years of time, where the structure steel is. Then you can ask somebody to take one sample. So a sample to be taken in such a way that it should not create a panic to the structure, and then you can taste and can predict on this change in temperature. Okay. So what is advantage? It advantages for us. Earthquake comes after 50 years. Yes, there is some increase in strength. So therefore, there is a inherent strength available in the section. Then strain aging. Now, when the corona started in March, all the players of our country, when all stadium, grounds, everything was closed, gym was also closed. Our players are they are worried about their game. Why? Because there is no practice. Okay, so you can see that the Virat Kohli was playing cricket on his terrace. Why? The aging should not take place. Means you should have your good biological cycle. You must walk, or you should do some exercise. You should take a morning with the good breakfast. So structure also behave like a human being. So it's strain aging. So when steel is unloaded, and after being loaded to strain hardening range and left unstressed for certain time, its molecular structure changes. So this is what the aging. What we say then, aging factor, because as per my age concern, aging factor. So do not feel about the aging. You should be remain perfect by doing your routine perfect exercise. Then upon reloading, yield strength, tensile strength increases, ductility, fracture toughness decreases. Why it happened? Material dislocation or defects in crystal structure due to which slip planes are developed. Yielding is causes. The meaning of dictionary meaning of yielding is the flowing of material. Material flows in the body of member, and therefore there is a yielding to place. Strain aging occurs because of nitrogen and carbon atoms migrate to these locations. So there is a study, and I have put a reference also here, so that there is strain aging. So therefore, the what is the conclusion or the lesson from this? Marginal difference in stress level structure should be designed. Marginal difference. It should not happen that there is a large difference between the actual distress and the permissible stress. Marginal difference it should be designed. Then effect of corrosion. The stress corrosion transform ductile steel into brittle material without substantial visible evidence. A structure which is corroded under stress condition, so such things are happen. The stress corrosion cracking can develop unexpectedly. Material under tensile stress is exposed to specific chemical acceleration at highest temperature. So now why I am teaching all this? Give a thought to it. I have given a thought, that's why I added here. You should also think of it, why I am teaching this and where is needed. Yes, it is very much needed. Means you should not allow corrosion to generate in the structure. Means you should do for maintenance. Because gravity load, dead load, imposed load, or your gravity loads are determined and known. But the lateral forces because of the wind and because of the earthquake, though our topic is today is the earthquake resistant design, but similar exercise also needed for the wind resistant design. We are teaching these courses on wind resistant design. Similar things are required because that is also a lateral force. We also predict the wind force and we calculate the wind force, but define wind force and we do the analysis. But this thing can also happen with along with in case of the wind also. Then corrosion fatigue. Develop uniformly corroded material. Cracks are visible. Reduce fatigue life of the string. Right. So, in short, the lesson from this slide is that we should not allow to generate the corrosion in the steel. The ductility of the corroded steel increases stress level for a given load. Longer stress ranges under fatigue type of cycle loading. Monotonic structure ductility of the steel is not detrimentally affected by the corrosion. Okay, so this is about the effect of corrosion. Now, the method of designs, and we are very much comfortable with the method of design which I am just now presenting is the working stress design, which is called as allowable stress. The stress caused by the characteristic load must be less than an allowable stress, which is the fraction of yield stress. So what we do? We take a stress level, which is a fraction of yield stress. That is, if that fraction is 0.6, 0.66, okay, 0.45, 0.4. So 0.6 for tensile stress, 0.66 for bending stress, 0.45 for maximum shear stress, 0.4 for average shear stress, 0.75 for bearing stress. So these are the fractions, and we allow up to that stress level. That means we doesn't go up to the yield level. Now here we allow in bending 0.66 times Fy. Okay, and what is the yield stress? Fy. Means if I load up to Fy and remove the load, nothing going to my structures. So how much difference? 1 minus 0.66, that is 0.34. Okay, so there was a earlier days there was a clause given that when dead load plus live load plus wind load is acting, you can increase the permissive stress by 33%. So this is that 33% here. Why so? Because dead load, live load going to be remain there, but wind comes for a particular duration. It comes and go back, and that force also becomes taken as a wind, as a working load. So therefore, we allow that type of stress. So that point 33. Those students who are listening my lecture today, they should say if they've been asked in some interviews that 33% increase is because of this particular difference. That means we allow up to particular limit, but when a load which is coming for a short duration, then we allow to increase the permissive stress. That was the condition mentioned in our IS 800 1984 code. The allowable stress may be defined in terms of factor of safety, which represents the margin of overload and other unload factors which could be tolerated by the structure. So what happens here? The stress at top is the allowable stress, and up to at bottom also the allowable stress. So we are in a very, very safe zone. And we define allowable stress equal to yield stress upon factor of safety. What are the limitations? We never consider monitor nullity. What is the behavior we show? Linear behavior. Non-linear behavior of the post buckle stress and the property of steel to tolerate high stress by yielding locally and reducing the load not accounted for. We never account all these things. No allowance for reduction of load in static indeterminate structures. There is a reduction of load. We'll discuss sometime here. Okay, so this is what the allowable stress is. Then we are shifting to the limitations of allowable stress design is being solved, and we are now considering the limit state design. So what is the objective? Achievement of an unacceptable probability that structure will perform satisfactorily for the intended purpose during the design life with appropriate degree of safety to sustain all loads, deformations, and adequate resistance to certain expected accidental load and fire. Okay. Now, whether you go for the working stress, if you go for the limit state, you go for the plastic analysis, or any method are designed based on experiment. There is one more area, design based on experiment. You make a structure, make a prototype of that or a model of that particular structure, and load and test it. That is called the design based on experiment. And a lot of structures has been tested by if they are being made first time or some new unitary design. Okay. All right. So in all this design, one particular parameter is fixed. What is that parameter? Stability. The structure should be stable in all the conditions. So stability part is inbuilt. You should not ignore that structure is safe in design, but stability has to be established. Okay. Then there is a condition mentioned that if you can't adopt the limit state, you can adopt working stress. Then the loads and forces. So in short, I'll tell you about this. We should use the probable action which is going to occur. Now load has been defined as an action in particular this steel design, and that is called, there are two types of action, permanent and variable, and these loads are dead load, imposed loads, wind load, earthquake loads, and erection loads, and accidental loads, and secondary effects. Now for these all loads we have to use IS 875. Wind load also now IS 875 2015. For other 875 part 1, part 2, part 4, and part 5, it is still 1987. Okay. And earthquake force as per the 1893 part 1. Right. So these are the things are to be considered. Then load combination as per the our this code. Okay. Then the background is or the basis of limit state design is based on the plastic analysis. Therefore, in this particular background, I added some things about the plastic analysis. How much time we have? we have some still 15-20 minutes we have. So these are the assumptions on plastic analysis, that here now in plastic analysis, first and fundamental part, that stress reaches to yield stress. That means the yielding of cross section took place. At every fiber, there is a uniform stress. Okay, that's why the assumption plane sections remain plane before bending, after bending, plane section remains plane before axial force, after axial force. Okay, whatever we say, we always put a assumption in our classroom. So plane sections remain plane, linearity of strain diagram. Now here linearity of strain diagram, because strain has not increased. Strain at failure is different than strain at ultimate. You can see that stress diagram, strain at fracture and strain at ultimate. They are two different values. So it's up to failure. So they are linear. Strain diagram is linear. Means what? At the starting point, there is some initial strain available in this section. Material is divided into, material is homogeneous and isotropic. Yes. Value of E in x direction equal to value of E in y direction. Section is divided into two equal parts at yield stress. Each layer free to expand and contract. There is no axial load. Stress strain curve is adjusted to two stress line. Elongation deformation is neglected. Okay. And member retains its original length. The value of E is constant tension as well as in compression. Okay. So here now, the plastic bending. In plastic bending, we have started with a one beam with UDL. Okay. And at working stress, what are the stress level? At working stress, the stress level are linear. Strain also linear, but they are all less than the yield stress. Okay. Then this is what you can see, the stress distribution across the section in plastic stage, and the curvature relationship that also becomes linear, because if you just write down the equation, m by I is equal to E over R is equal to sigma over Y. That is the Bernoulli's equation of bending. And if you write down two parts, one part is on strength, another part is on serviceability, that is the on curvature, that M over EI is equal to 1 over R, and that R depends upon the deflection of the deflated shape of the beam, and that deflated shape nothing but it is nothing called as elastic curve. Elastic curve, equation of elastic. What is the equation of elastic curve? EI d square by dx square is equal to minus m. So these are all, they are interrelated to each other. Then if I increase the load, the yielding took place. At yielding, again the stress at top and bottom are yield stress, and inside the fiber they are again still in linear stress distribution, and they are elastic. Again the M over EI diagram equal to 1 over R, so that becomes now My upon EI is equal to 1 over R. Then if I again increase the load, there is a propagation of stress inside the fiber, and the part of the structure is now in plastic part. That means here the stress level doesn't increase. These are already, the stresses are completely developed to the yield stress, but the remaining part, you can see the remaining part, they are in elastic. Here the moment curvature relation changes. Here the moment curvature relation changes, and the nature of the moment curvature relation diagram, that becomes now non-linear. Again, it propagated inside, means a part of the flange also, that therefore stress distribution that becomes elastoplastic, and then finally it becomes a plastic. You can see here the strain diagram is again linear, which is much greater than the yield strength. That means you can relate the first slide, if you noted down the about the stress strain relationship. So this becomes plastic. Now all these 4 stages is only occur when the outstand upon thickness of flange should be within a specified limit. That means here what theory is involved under this moment curvature relationship and the bending relationship, the plate theory, and that is the basis of classification of the cross section. Okay, so this is what the classification cross section and generation of plastic moment and formation of plastic hinge. So hinge are forms. Then these are the curvature at 1, 2, 3, 4. At all stretches curvature. This is the deflection at all stages 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is the curvature at all stages 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is what the generation of plastic hinge. In the first stage, nothing is developed. Second stage, small top and bottom fiber have this stress. Then in third elastoplastic stage, the black portion due plastic, and then this line because elastic, and here the full. So this is the total area plastic hinge generated, and this you can calculate the length of plastic hinge. So this happens only with good cross section. So therefore now based on this particular theory, the limit state allows all types of cross section to be used. This is what moment curvature relationship for the phalange beam section, and this basis of classification. Now that the sections are classified based on the moment curvature relationship, and this curvature relationship only occur when this b/2 versus this t is in particular limits. So that is based on the plate theories. The plate theory of plates is required here. That equation tau CR is equal to, and this classification is now plastic, compact, semi-compact, and cylinder. With the plastic means when they should be take high rotation capacity. Where it only rotates, it becomes compact, and then semi-compact is nothing but our working stress method. This is between the elastoplastic method and this is the plastic method. So therefore, there is a wide range of cross sections are available now. You can use wide range of cross sections to classify the cross sections, which was limitation of our 800, that only we can use only one type of cross section. We can use only one type of cross section. Now we can use the wide range of cross sections here. So this is what the basis as you mentioned here, and these are the definitions. Then plastic moment, whole section goes into plastic stage, is called as plastic moment. Then shape factor is nothing but the ratio of full plastic moment to ill section. So that enhance the capacity, shape factor enhance the capacity. And the collapse load, a constant load at which infinite rotation can take place, is known as collapse load. And the load factor is nothing but the ratio of collapse load to working load. And these are the moment curvature relation for various types of cross section considering their the shape factor. Okay, this is what the plastic hinge, how it forms. Then there is the effect of axial force on plastic movement, because you can't accommodate this axial force. That's why our assumption was that there is no axial force acting on this member. So axial force added here. So they have to take the effect of axial force. Therefore, what I suggest that N upon NP, this is actual axial force and this plastic axial force should be this relationship, M1 upon MP, this relationship, N upon MP should be less than 0.15. Means 15% of cross section area you should have the axial force. Then there is no need to reduce the plastic movement. So same particular clause is been given in IS 800 2007, that effect of axial force, how the revised plastic movement to be calculated. Then effect of shear force also on plastic movement. Okay, now the how to calculate redundancy, that also be there, that the for beam total vertical reaction plus end moment minus 2, that becomes the redundancy for the beam, and for the frame 3 times number of loops minus release at support with the redundancy for the frames. Then there are mechanisms. These mechanisms are important for our ERD. Beam mechanism, sway mechanism, combined mechanism. Where the location of hinge. Then method of analysis. The step-by-step method, then static theorem, lower bound theorem, kinetic theorem, a plastic movement distribution method, load interaction method, binary design, and shaker down theorem. These are the method of plastic analysis. Then this is a simple step-by-step analysis which shows you that for every hinge how much load is required. And we calculate the collapse load by step by step. That's why it's called step by step. Load interaction, yes. I just put it two methods only here because load interaction is very important. We can interact with the lateral force versus vertical force, and we can find out under which mechanism the structure can collapse. So we can draw the zone where it can collapse. Fashion of the day, pusher analysis. Name is given a pusher analysis, but it is a step-by-step method. We calculate the we are pushing the structure for formation of plastic hinge, and we calculate the load. A constant relative magnitude of lateral load is applied, increase until target displacement is reached, and gravity loads are kept constant. Structure is pushed sideways to determine ultimate lateral load, resistance, and sequence of yield event, that is plastic hinge. So it is nothing but the modified method of step by step to find out the behavior of structure under the lateral force. Then minimum value of effective center ratio. This should be followed. That the maximum value of KLY ratio or center ratio has to be according to this particular condition. Otherwise, what will happen? The member itself will buckle before it can take a load. And then the expansion joints. Expansion joint should be given. If you are not giving the expansion joint, the critical temperature analysis is must. So the basis for limit state design. The structure should remain fit during its lifetime. That's first requirement. Second, acceptable target reliability has to be there. And probability of limit state being reached during life should be low. Means should not reach to the limit. It should be remain before the limit. So acceptable limit for safety and serviceability requirement before failure occurs is called a limit state. And structure to be designed for a most critical limit states to satisfy the requirement for stability, strength, serviceability, brittle fracture, fatigue, fire, and durability. Means all the things are being included in this now limit state design. And there are two limits to be considered. One limit state of strength and limit state of serviceability. Then I'll go to actions. There are two types of action, three types of action considered as permanent action, variable actions, and accidental actions. So gravity loads, which are two types. One is will be permanent, that is self-weight and of the all components, and variable will be your all imposed load and the lateral forces. An accident due to explosion and the impact. Characteristic load defined. Then these are the load factors considered as per our 800. And load factor for the material also been given. Okay, now there are two more things are important here. There is since we are extracting these each and every fiber of the strength from each and every fiber of the material, so there is some always imperfection. So imperfection to be considered. That's why the lack of verticality, lack of straightness, lack of flatness, lack of fit should be greater than standard tolerance. So therefore, this geometrical imperfection has been included, and that's why the imperfection parameter has been included in calculating the strength. So therefore, there are some information parameters in our routine formula of stress calculation. Then out of straightness to be tested considering the sample, and what it says that 1 in 1000 should be the out of straightness allowed. 1 in 1000. So 1 in 1000 out of straightness is allowed here. Okay. Then the important part here, the residual strength. Residual strength, what it says that I'll tell you how it generates. I say these rolled sections are being formed by making the basic iron into a red hot form with a soft condition. It will be pushed through dies, and you get a shape of angle channel or the eye section. So when it is kept on a natural ground for natural cooling, during cooling, if I say this point and this point which are free, they cool first, and this point they cool late. Okay, so there is the member should not warp. So therefore, there is a stresses of both the nature being developed in the material due to cooling. So that stress is nothing but they are called as the residual stress. You can see this stress contour of the residual stress. And this is what the method, destructive method for finding out the residual strength, that you can cut a member, then again cut into small wire piece members, and then you can measure it with the help of this demountable mechanical strain gauge, and you can find out the strain gauges. This is what the samples. This is what the work by one of my students, Jyoti Bhalave, she did it. This is the result of the stress levels. Okay, and now the last, which I am just now closing here, that the deflection. So what it says that deflection should not impair strength or cause damage to finishing. For all practical purpose, the value of load factor is always 1 in all cases. Okay, and the limits are like this. These are the nothing but the I produced from the IS 800 2007. Right. So friends, this much I justified today because of my another assignment at for the PhD Viva. So I may not now continue here. I will close here, and the questions you can ask. If I'm 5 minutes, I can have the questions here. So if I can answer, I can answer it right now.
Yes, sir. So participants are requested to type their question in the chat box, or they can also unmute one by one and then ask the questions. So thank you, sir, for with your busy schedule, you have taken time for our STDP. And again, this was one of the important topic, because now today the most of the infrastructures, they are using the steel, and the understanding regarding the behavior of the steel is very much important. So thank you for giving the light on this topic. So there one question was there by Shubham Kolle. So he is asking about that what topic for MTech research, if you can suggest anyone.
He can interact me directly anytime. So I
Yes,
just
sir,
want
yes.
to know what he want to do. So then
Yeah.
I can suggest him.
Yes, sir. So
he can interact me.
Shubham, you can directly communicate by the mail to Gupta sir, so that
I can communicate. Or otherwise, can we have also, there are some good MTech students, they can have join together. We can have one Google meeting or something like this, which we can just interaction. Interaction means I'm talking to them. Because I just want to know what are their interest.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
In their interest, then I can pick up a topic and तुम इसमें काम करो, तुम्हारा interest भी है, तुमको ये करेगा तो you will get success on that. That will be better also.
Another question
I'm-
was there from Mayank.
Huh.
During analysis, what difference it will make if we use the true stress instead of engineering strain?
It will make difference because the value will change. As far as the basic stress concerned, it will not doesn't make any difference. Because what happens, we always design considering the strength as per the E250. If I take if I get the true stress means the factory result, they are not uniform throughout the member. If you take a 200 samples are the 200 pieces of ISMB 200 is there. If you cut pieces, you'll find that some variation in the property. So you cannot take higher, you cannot take them lower.
Yes, sir.
So normally what we consider, that's why we consider the basic stress which is mentioned in our code.
Definitely in the later time also, this presentation will be helpful for the students.
Yes.
So thank you, sir, for being with us for this session in STDP. And I also thanks to all the participants on the behalf of Department of Civil Engineering, Professor Ram Meghe, College of Engineering and Management, Badnera. So after a few minutes,
just I want to inform, this is the background story I had developed, which will be needed on Friday
sir.
morning again. Friday morning, we now will
Yes, sir.
proceed further from this point onward.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, and thanks to all the participants. And again, the next session we will begin at 11 a.m. link. So we will start it at 11:10. So do join there with the another link of 11 a.m. session. Now I am ending this meeting here, and another expert is also ready. So we will start the second session at 11:15.
Right, sir. Right.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Before leaving the meeting, those participants can drop their mobile number in the chat box for attendance purpose. So in just within 2-3 minutes again, or after 5-minute break, I will start the next session meeting. So you can join, but at 11:15 we will start the, or 11:10 we will start the next session.